Hi, it's Katrina. You may be eating a lot of gross things and not even know it. Plenty of foods are surrounded by urban legends, and for you seafood lovers, be careful because calamari may be on the list. And of course, watch out for crushed up beetles and human hair, but we'll get to that. Questionable calamari. Most people are aware that you can buy real crab meat or you can buy imitation crab meat from the grocery store. Imitation crab meat is usually just fish that tastes kind of like crab. You can do the same thing with calamari. There is real calamari, which comes from squid. Then there's imitation calamari, which is made from something absolutely disgusting. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, especially if you've had imitation calamari before without knowing it, but it's made from hog rectum. The more casual way to say it is that you have eaten pig butt. All across America, people are very likely currently feasting on hog rectum. Restaurants everywhere allegedly serve imitation calamari. It looks crisp and golden, usually treated with marinara sauce, but it isn't what it appears. Ben Calhoun with This American Life recently led a segment into the investigation of fake calamari made from pig butt. He said in an email to the Huffington Post that his team of researchers believe the American meat industry is producing calamari made from pig butt. However, the researchers were never able to prove or disprove their belief. Instead, they found rumors and some really disturbing facts. In major metropolitan areas of the United States, anywhere from 30% to 55% of seafood sales are thought to be seafood fraud. In other words, restaurants and processing plants fudge the packaging. They make things like fake calamari and other seafood out of ingredients like pig intestine or pig rectum. This is what the researchers say, not any official government bodies. Officially, there hasn't been a single instance of imitation calamari being passed off as real calamari. However, it is potentially something that's happening every day. You might not know if you're eating imitation calamari, but really you're eating some hog parts scooped off the factory floor. Ground up beetles. You may have been eating insects your whole life and you don't even know it. One of the most widely used food colorings in the world is the color red. Guess what it's made from? It's made from crushed beetles. Red food coloring is made from a product called carmine. Carmine is made from millions of tiny insects in Latin America that live on cacti plants. Each year in Peru, gazillions of these things are harvested, crushed into a mucky paste, and stuffed into everything from yogurt to fruit pie. Carmine is used extensively in the cosmetic industry, found in a lot of lipsticks and eyeshadows. It's widely used because it's safe and stable with a bright red finish. There are usually no medical issues with eating crushed beetles or wearing them on your face. Carmine is a fully natural product that was used by the Aztec in Mexico 500 years ago. Most scientists admit it's a much healthier alternative to artificial food colorings. The only issue people have with it is that, well, it's kind of yucky. And now for number 8. But first, it's shout-out time! I want to give a huge thank you to Leon Totarum and Gabrielle Pacheco for supporting this channel. We wouldn't be here without you. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. Human hair. Bread at the grocery store is full of some of the most rancid ingredients of any mass-consumed food. Human hair, duck feathers, pig bristles, and cow horns. Those are 4 ingredients that could be in your bread. The truth came out in 2016 in a study that got to the bottom of processed breads. But it was only recently that the information went viral when consumers started talking about an ingredient right on the bag, something called L-cysteine. L-cysteine is an amino acid used to extend the life of commercial breads. This is the ingredient that allows the bread to sit in your cupboard for 3 weeks without getting moldy. It's grossing people out because the ingredient is typically synthesized from human hair. Where does all this hair come from? That's the part that's really going to make you never want to eat bread again. According to a report from Vice, much of the natural protein element comes from hair swept off the floors of barbershops in China. There aren't full human hairs in your bread. You're not going to pull a long black strand of hair out of a piece of rye. But the L-cysteine used to make the bread does contain it. The disturbing ingredient was only found in trace amounts, but it's enough to make some people change their diet. Or you could just make the bread yourself. Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese goes on just about everything, and most people have at least a bit of it in their house. It's one of the most beloved cheeses in the world, which is what makes this so difficult. It turns out Parmesan is made using something called animal rennet. If you haven't heard of it before, don't feel bad, you're not the only one. Animal rennet is a little-known enzyme that comes from the fourth lining of animal stomachs, typically the stomachs of calves, goats, and lambs. In order to collect this enzyme, the animals typically need to be killed. What happens is that a baby cow is butchered and its stomach removed. Then the enzymes are scraped out from the inside and added to your cheese. Well, the process is a little more finesse than that. The animal rennet is removed from the stomach, then dried until it becomes solid. When it's time to make the Parmesan, the solid rennet is rehydrated in water and added to milk as a liquid. Then the whole mixture is churned into cheese. The point of adding the rennet is that it breaks apart solid particles in the milk, allowing the cheese curds to form. It's perfectly safe, but seriously disturbing for some. Whenever you sprinkle Parmesan cheese onto your salad, you're sprinkling bits of dried enzyme extracted from a baby animal's guts. Pesticides. The Impossible Burger is being advertised as a real burger made from plant-based ingredients. It bleeds like a real burger when you cut it open, and with enough fixings, it truly does taste like real beef. But wait until you learn what's really inside the beef patty. Sorry, the fake beef patty. It has more calories than a normal burger at 240. It's not a big difference, but one thing to keep in mind. The Impossible Burger also has high salt content, about 16% of your recommended daily intake. That's a big difference from normal beef that's only 2% of your daily recommended intake. One of the big selling points is that the burger bleeds, but it's certainly not real blood. The only reason it bleeds is because it uses genetically modified soy to create the red color. The fake beef patty contains coconut oil plus sunflower oil. These aren't that bad, but the list gets worse. There's modified food starch to extend the shelf life of the burger, with a yeast extract packed full of sodium to mimic the flavor of real meat. The most controversial ingredient by far is glyphosate. Glyphosate is not just an ingredient in the plant-based burger, it's also the main ingredient in Roundup. Yes, Roundup, the same product used to spray lawns to kill weeds and grass. The state of California says the chemical is known to cause cancer. The World Health Organization claims it's carcinogenic to humans. Roundup has been at the center of multiple class action lawsuits. It's right there inside the plant-based burger beside the biblical levels of soy. The glyphosate comes from the soy because, well, it's genetically modified and sprayed with Roundup. Dead wasps. Figs are full of unusual secrets. For example, did you know figs are inverted flowers? The inside of a fig is filled with hundreds of small buds that bloom inside the pod. The technical name for a fig is an aggregate fruit. A fig is a totally edible produce made from hundreds of tiny fruiting flowers. It's really fascinating, but it's about to get a little gross. Most fig varieties you come across at the market don't require pollination. Some of them do though, like the Kalimurna fig. These require wasps for pollination, and sometimes the wasps get stuck inside the fig. Because you can't really tell from the outside, you never know if your fig is going to contain a dead wasp or not. Pollination works like this. A female fig wasp forces her way into an unripe male fig. She worms her way into the aggregate fruit and lays her eggs in the flower petals. The female wasp becomes stuck inside the fig. She has no way out. When her eggs hatch, the males and females mate. Then the males use their massive pincers to chomp a tunnel through the fig. Only with the tunnel complete can the brood escape. Sadly for mommy wasp, she's too big to get out. She dies inside the fig. It's all just part of the circle of life. The female fig wasp rarely lives more than 48 hours. Her entire purpose is to produce more wasps and then die inside the fig. Upon her death, she produces an enzyme that dissolves her exoskeleton. By the time a person bites into a fig, the wasp is long gone. Its remains are still technically in there, only dissolved. If you look at it literally, you're sort of eating wasp corpses. Chewing gum. Chewing gum has got to be one of the worst kinds of candies around. It's been suggested chewing gum can cause jaw problems and give you headaches. It can reportedly rot your teeth and cause diarrhea. Chewing gum has so many potential side effects that there should be warning labels on every package. There should also be a warning label describing the horrific ingredients inside chewing gum. The worst of all the ingredients is an oily secretion called lanolin. It comes from a sheep's sebaceous glands. The lanolin is secreted by the sheep to keep its wool waterproof. It's a fantastic material that has around 170 fatty acids in it, quite similar to sebum produced by human skin. Lanolin is a component of chewing gum. It's also found in lip balms. While it's most likely safe to consume in the tiny amounts found in the gum, it can be dangerous. It's been suggested ingesting too much lanolin can result in vomiting and a rash. You would need to eat a whole lot of gum for that to happen though. The biggest concern for people is that lanolin is basically sheep slime. Are you a big gum chewer? Let me know in the comments. Unwanted anchovies. In Walmart, they have a lot of great value food products. These are typically cheaper versions of the more expensive brands, but they contain some really weird ingredients, such as Great Value's maple syrup, which has an unusual warning at the bottom of the label. The warning says that the maple syrup might contain anchovies. Why in the world would your bottle of maple syrup perhaps contain anchovies? Nobody wants fish in their syrup or on their pancakes. Just because the warning label says it might contain anchovies doesn't mean they are definitely in there. Registered dietitian Chrissy Carroll says the warning likely just means that the maple syrup is produced on the same line as items that contain anchovies. There is a very slim chance of contamination on the assembly line. But why is it so much different than the normal brands? Great Value butter-flavored syrups label says this stuff contains corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, cellulose gum, caramel color sorbic acid, and lots more. Yet if you look at the more expensive pure maple syrup, there's only one single ingredient: maple syrup. It's because maple syrup is expensive, so if you want it for cheap, you're going to get a bottle of syrup-flavored goop that might contain anchovies. If you want nothing but maple syrup with absolutely no anchovies, you're going to have to spend more money. Maggots. You won't believe how many maggots are allowed in a single can of mushrooms. According to a report from CNN, the FDA considers it impractical to grow raw products free of naturally occurring defects. In other words, there could be some gross stuff in your food. Ketchup could contain insect eggs or insect body fragments. There could be traces of rodent poop and cigarette butts in certain food, though I'm not sure how cigarette butts could be considered a naturally occurring defect. Other foods, like canned produce, have a different set of rules. Instead of being allowed to contain just a few insect body parts, they can contain entire insects. Most specifically, the FDA is pretty lenient on maggots in mushrooms. The FDA guidelines state that in an average portion of 100 grams of mushrooms, there must be less than 75 mites and less than 20 maggots. But don't worry, less than 5 of the maggots may exceed 2 millimeters. There can be 20 maggots, but they can't all be big maggots. Perhaps the more disgusting thing is that maggots are technically fine to eat. That is, so long as they aren't infested with diseases that they've picked up from rotting plants or dead animals. Titanium dioxide. In 2022, Skittles was sued when a consumer claimed that the candy was unfit for human consumption. The consumer's case revolved around an artificial color additive called titanium dioxide. It's a suspicious ingredient found in a lot more than just Skittles. It's used in tons of food products, especially in salad dressing. But it's also used in household goods, for example, sunscreen and house paint. The next time you squirt some salad dressing onto your delicious array of vegetables, you're squirting something with an ingredient that's also in the paint on your walls. But how dangerous is it? A spokesperson for Mars Wrigley, the company that owns Skittles, said all levels are safe and within safety requirements put forth by the FDA. But if the levels are safe, and the FDA gave the go-ahead, why is titanium dioxide banned in the European Union? Why does one country say it's safe to eat, while another place says it's toxic and dangerous? That's a political question that I can't answer. What I can tell you is that titanium dioxide is used as a color additive, kind of like a paint primer. It's the reason Skittles have a colorful, hard shell. It's put on the candy to give it a uniform shine. It's also put in products like cottage cheese to make it whiter. The same goes for your salad dressing. The reason your kitchen is so shiny is the same reason your cupcakes are shiny. As for its danger, science has proven it's not good. The European Food Safety Authority made an assessment in 2021 that the chemical could be genotoxic. That means it could potentially destroy your DNA and give you cancer. Thanks for watching! Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed. Bat soup. Following the coronavirus outbreak that sparked a worldwide pandemic, video footage of a Chinese woman eating a fruit bat in a Wuhan restaurant went viral. Consuming bat meat is especially controversial right now, as the creatures are believed to play a major role in the transmission of the virus from animals to humans that led to the ongoing global COVID-19 crisis. According to Smithsonian Magazine and National Geographic, bats are breeding grounds for deadly diseases, and they are responsible for some of the most fear-inducing zoonotic viruses: Ebola, SARS, Marburg, and Nipah, just to name a few. The adventurous diner named Wang Mengyun eventually broke her silence and apologized for eating the bat, which she claims happened 3 years ago. And she hosts a travel show and was eating the bat in Palau, not China. But rumors proliferated about bat soup consumption sparking the pandemic, along with claims that the dish is a delicacy in China, and videos of other people eating bats began circulating on social media. Bat consumption in the Asia-Pacific region likely began during prehistoric times and has persisted into the modern era. Around the world, 167 bat species are hunted for food and various other reasons, including for sport and out of perceived medical value. While a small percentage of the population may eat bats, the habit varies by region in China, with markets in some parts of the country carrying bat meat, but bat meat consumption is not as common there as people think. However, hanging out with bats and being in close proximity to them is pretty dangerous. While the wet market in Wuhan is suspected to be the epicenter of the epidemic, the immediate source remains elusive. Crocodile meat. When Quartz reporter Echo Huang came down with hay fever in 2016, the Guangdong province native's parents attempted to help her heal through various traditional Chinese medicinal remedies. When all else failed, they served her a thick soup containing stewed meat, which Huang described as a milkshake thick. Her parents told her the concoction was good for her ailing respiratory system, so she ate it, hoping for some relief, only to learn that she had just had a hearty bowl of stewed crocodile meat. Huang wrote that the soup was plain and the meat tasted like chicken. Have any of you ever tried crocodile meat? Let me know in the comments below. While China's demand for exotic meats has increased in recent decades, the culinary use of crocodile meat dates back at least to the 16th century during the Ming Dynasty. My family said it's very good for nutrition, and every other day there would be vacuum-packed crocodile meat in the refrigerator, Guangdong native and then 22-year-old Kong Minying told Huang. Minying couldn't remember the specifics revolving around where her family obtained the meat, but she recalled that it was quite expensive and sourced from the animal's back. There is a high demand for crocodile meat, and in Africa, 85% of crocodile exports go to China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan combined. In other words, besides being a commonly resorted to treatment for respiratory issues, crocodile meat is also a delicacy in China. It's stewed, boiled, fried, and barbecued. And crocodile farmers not only sell the meat, but they also profit from the creature's skin, which sells at top dollar in the high fashion industry to make bags and boots and coats. There are some ethical conflicts revolving around crocodile consumption, with some people arguing that if the animal is going to be slaughtered for its skin, people might as well eat its meat. Huang, on the other hand, admitted that eating crocodile never cured her sickness and that she can also live without a crocodile handbag. Wormwood dumplings. Wormwood dumplings, also called futsu rice cakes and known as aiban to the Hakka ethnic group, are a staple of the annual Qingming Festival, or Tomb Sweeping Day, and they are one of the most uniquely Chinese foods. Dumplings are a classic Asian dish you can find in any Chinese restaurant, but we're yet to find wormwood dumplings outside of China, according to Vanessa L., writing for The Travel. They basically consist of pork and a spinach-like ingredient called wormwood. These drab green treats are made from a blend of wormwood paste and glutinous rice powder and symbolize protecting peace and fighting off diseases and evil spirits. One recipe sharer described the taste of wormwood dumplings as sticky and a little sweet on I Share Chinese Culture, a website dedicated to learning about authentic Chinese customs and culture. Wormwood, which has been used to combat malaria in China, has numerous health benefits and is used for treating all kinds of things, including digestion problems, appetite loss, upset stomach, fever, liver disease, memory loss, muscle pain, depression, and more. And now for number 7. But first, let me know what other nations' cuisine you'd like to hear about, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Century egg. There are countless ways to prepare eggs, as I'm sure you already know, but have you ever tried a pickled one? Also called thousand-year eggs and millennium eggs, century eggs are a preserved dish that involves soaking duck, quail, or chicken eggs in a saline solution, which typically consists of clay and salt, and is also known to include ash and/or quicklime, or calcium oxide. During the process, an egg's white turns into a dark jelly, while the yolk becomes amber with a creamy cheese-like texture. Century eggs are cured for anywhere between 4 weeks to around 100 days. Then they are wrapped in rice hulls and buried for a few more weeks. While it may not take a century to prepare century eggs, as their name implies, they've certainly been around for much longer than that. According to legend, around 600 years ago during the Ming Dynasty, a farmer in China's Hunan province discovered some naturally preserved duck eggs underneath some slaked lime on his property. He tried one and enjoyed it enough to start making them. Century eggs look anything but appetizing, and they also have a pungent odor that often smells like ammonia or cheese. Their flavor is described as complex and sharp, with mineral or metallic overtones. But some people love century eggs, and there are even recipes online for how to make your own. Hey, you'll never know if you like something until you try it, right? Bee pupae. Bee pupae are commonly eaten in certain regions of China, including parts of Guizhou, Yunnan, and Hunan provinces. Bee pupae are typically fried golden according to China Highlights, but are also served steamed, stir-fried, cold-fried in sauce, and even in the form of crispy bee pupae cakes. They are also used as an ingredient in other dishes. This creepy crawly specialty, which is said to have a nutty flavor, is low in fat and high in protein. Because bee pupae are so nutritious, a Danish research team looked into their potential value as a widespread food source in 2016, amid growing concerns associated with the world's skyrocketing population, which is projected to hit 9 billion by 2050. The study aimed to introduce bee pupae as a realistic addition to a more sustainable food industry. Convincing the Western world to accept insects as a food will likely entail an uphill battle, but given their popularity elsewhere and among adventurous eaters, perhaps it will eventually catch on. I think I would try this. Would you? Stinky tofu. Stinky tofu is what it sounds like. Odoriferous tofu that ferments in a mixture of fermented milk and fish, meat, or vegetable-based brine, or a combination of them. It's a popular snack food in China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, where street vendors and restaurants regularly offer it. For many first-time visitors to these places, the stench of smelly tofu can be extremely off-putting. Its scent is often described as resembling old socks, blue cheese that's gone bad, and rotten trash. But to some people, the stinkier the dish, the better, and some preparers will even use brine that is weeks or months old to achieve this effect. Most of what's available on the street is made with days-old brine and is often factory-produced, making it less smelly, although some vendors and restaurants sell homemade versions. Many people insist that smelly tofu's taste is worth getting past its odor for. Its texture is similar to that of a soft cheese, and its taste is far less pungent than a first-timer would probably imagine. But it's only eaten hot because cold, smelly tofu is rumored to smell even worse. Smelly tofu is usually served fried, but cooking and serving style vary by region, and it is sometimes steamed, stewed, or served in soup and other dishes. Would you endure smelly tofu's less than pleasant aroma to see if, like many people, you enjoy its taste? I don't know. I don't like blue cheese, so I don't know if I would like this. Let me know in the comments below. Jellyfish salad. Have you ever tried jellyfish? I didn't know you could eat jellyfish. Marinated jellyfish salad is a Chinese delicacy with a flavor similar to octopus, but it's less chewy and much more sour. The recipe is easy to prepare if you dare to try it, and it is really very tasty and has a special textural crunch all of its own, according to one recipe contributor whose expertise is featured on the Hong Kong Cookery's website. The person advises those interested in trying their hand at jellyfish salad to purchase heavily salted meat, which looks like whitish to brownish folded rubbery sheets. Sounds appetizing already. From there, the jellyfish meat is rinsed repeatedly until it no longer bears a salty taste and is mixed with a dressing containing soy sauce, sesame oil, rice vinegar, sugar, and chopped chili peppers. Can't go wrong with that. If you thought scientists were overstepping by entertaining the idea of feeding bee pupae to humans, you might also find it off-putting that in early 2018, a team of Italian scientists urged people to consider trying jellyfish. Jellyfish are invasive in many areas, so this would actually help the environment. The idea, which culminated into the Go Jelly project, partially resulted from an overabundance of jellyfish throughout the world that caused major power outages, stings, and disrupted ecosystems. It's worth transforming a problem into an opportunity, zoology professor Stefano Piraino told SBS. Jellyfish are protein-rich and low in fat and calories, and the fat they contain is full of essential omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. In other words, good fats. There are between 25 and 30 edible jellyfish species throughout the world, and while persuading people in some parts of the world to add them to their diet may prove to be an insurmountable task, jellyfish were long considered delicacies in certain parts of Asia, including China, where eating them eventually became commonplace. So, what does it taste like? According to Audrey Bourget of SBS, jellyfish has a very delicate flavor, sometimes a bit salty. It's more about the texture, somewhere between a cucumber and a glass noodle, not as gelatinous as you might expect. Bird's nest soup. Bird's nest soup is one of the world's most expensive culinary delicacies, and it originated in China at least 400 years ago. Nicknamed the caviar of the East, it's made from the extremely rare and valuable nest material of swiftlets, who build their abodes out of their own spit and feathers. This ingredient costs between $2,500 and $10,000 per kilogram, or roughly $30 to $100 for a single bowl of soup. And the demand for it has even forced certain governments to impose laws to prevent swiftlets from dying out, and to prevent diseases like avian flu. Swiftlets nest at high altitudes, and for this reason, harvesting their nest is an unavoidably risky process. Because the material is so profitable, some people willingly put their lives on the line to obtain it. Reaching the nest involves ascending nearly pitch-black caves 3 times annually with only a helmet, handmade rope, and a makeshift ladder. This is just the beginning of the ordeal. From there, harvesters must be able to tell which nests are harvest ready. They must be obtained at a very particular time when at least one batch of eggs has hatched, but before the mother lays more. Nests must be thoroughly cleaned before they're consumed, considering what they're made of. The traditional method involves workers using tiny tools, removing the feathers from the nest one by one. Bird's nest soup has a soft, gelatinous consistency and texture, according to those who've tried it. The delicacy's future remains uncertain, however. The swiftlet nest trade is already heavily regulated in some countries, due partially to the risk of an avian flu spreading to humans. As you know, it's not that hard to get contaminated. In the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, people and governments are wising up to the zoonotic disease transmission risks that come along with humans being in close proximity to certain animals and animal products. Like many things in today's chaotic world, only time will tell if this luxury food item will remain on the menu. Balut. If you thought the century egg was a bizarre concept, prepare to be even further perplexed by balut, a fertilized duck embryo that is boiled and eaten in its shell. While balut is most commonly associated with the Philippines, there is evidence of the Chinese introducing the dish to the region around 1885. Chinese traders and migrants are said to have brought the idea of eating fertilized duck eggs to the Philippines, according to researcher Margaret Magot. Balut, along with other traditionally Chinese dishes, were popularly sold on the streets of the Philippines. Magot considers balut a distant cousin to the century egg, and researchers have figured out that this delicacy, once only available via fine dining, quickly became popular among ordinary citizens. Regardless of where balut's origins lie, people in the Philippines took the concept and ran with it. And at one point, the municipality of Pateros dominated the industry. Fertilized embryos incubate for somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks, after which the contents are consumed, even if the unborn bird inside is recognizable. Scorpions and insects. Insect and scorpion eating cultures tend to evolve when traditional food sources such as chicken, pork, or beef are difficult to find. But in some parts of China, eating insects and scorpions is customary. These foods include cicadas, crickets, giant water beetles, grasshoppers, stink bugs, and even fly larvae. Yes, maggots. Some of these creatures, like cicadas, are deep fried. Food vendors, particularly in Beijing, dip live scorpions into hot oil and serve them on a skewer. And in some areas, people douse them in a potent liquor called baijiu. Whether eating insects and scorpions is beneficial or harmful is an ongoing debate amongst experts, who are currently saying that China is not ready to safely resume mass consumption of bugs due to the potential transmission of zoonotic viruses from animals to humans, which is believed to be how the ongoing worldwide coronavirus pandemic started. The possibilities of ingesting pesticide residue, harmful bacteria, and other toxins are also concerns. Yet in recent years, Dr. Susan Albers and her colleagues set out to explore China's insect-eating activities, possibly in hopes of persuading more Westerners to open up to the idea of consuming them. Meanwhile, the UN Food and Agricultural Organization believes that eating insects could help solve food shortages in certain parts of the world and help to protect the environment. There are admittedly some health benefits to consuming these creatures, which are high in protein, vitamins, and fiber. Bon appétit! Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what's the most unique thing that you've ever eaten. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!